Jewishnews TV. I'm Lexi Landsman. Coming up this week, life's a drag for racy Jewish spiritual leader, will Israelis cause a racket at the Open, and the world mourns Anne Frank's protector. But first, the big story of the week. A top Australian rabbi is demanding a fringe group of Lubavitch Jews be shunned. The so-called Moshiach men have got into hot water for posting a video of themselves eating during the fast of Tevet on YouTube. The group claimed the fast doesn't need to be kept anymore, as the Messiah's already come in the form of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Dayan of Melbourne's Yeshiva College, Zvi Telsner, said until they apologise before a Beth Din, they can't play a role in shul services or have dealings with people. In other news, an 100-year-old woman who helped Anne Frank hide from the Nazis has passed away. With more, here's Aaron Shapiro.
Tributes poured in this week for Meep Geese, the last surviving member of the group, who helped hide Holocaust diarist Anne Frank and her family. Geese, who also found Frank's diary and protected it until the end of the war, was one of 6 non-Jews who cared for the Franks from 1942 until 1944, when their hiding place was uncovered by the Nazis and they were transported to Auschwitz. In a letter to his Dutch counterpart, Israeli President Shimon Peres wrote, quote, "Meep's selfless humanitarian deed inspires us to continue believing in the goodness and integrity of human beings in the face of unfathomable evil." End quote. Geese died in Holland on Monday at the age of 100.
Arts news now. And an American spiritual leader who's headed to Australia swapped delivering droshas to dressing in drag. Chicago native Erwin Keller will arrive late next month with his drag-a-cappella beauty shop quartet, the Kinsey Six, for the gay and lesbian Mardi Gras.
Just like Sonny and Cher without Sonny. Drag-a-cappella, we sing for love of art and for money.
Speaking to the AJN ahead of this tour, Keller said the Jewish flavour in their shows is inevitable.
So it's present in our outlook, in our insights, how we think about the world, how we think about politics, and in our particular absurdist sense of humor.
From net stockings to net point, will Israel's top seed serve up a treat for tennis fans at the Australian Open? Here's our very own ball boy, David Weiner.
Thanks, Lexi. It's great to be back because the world's sporting stars are on their way to Melbourne for the Australian Open Tennis Grand Slam. Doubles star Andy Ram appears to be Israel's great hope, having reached a mixed doubles final and men's doubles semi at last year's Grand Slams. The world number 9 will partner France's Michael Lodra next week. Dodi Seller's preparations have suffered a hiccup, losing in the first round in Sydney to Julian Benneteau, but Shahar Peer, the world's women's number 30, has followed up her semi-final showing in Auckland by beating local hero Jelena Dokic in the second round in Hobart last night. But it has been a turbulent start to 2010 for Peer, who was again the subject of political protests in Auckland last week. It is unclear whether the anti-Israel protesters, who the New Zealand Herald labelled a disgrace, will cause any problems in Melbourne next week. The Open draw is yet to be finalised, but the AJN believes there will be 9 Jewish starters across the field next week.
For all these stories and more, check out the Australian Jewish News, available every Thursday at your local newsagent. And log on to jewishnews.net.au for all the latest in news and views from the Jewish world. In the meanwhile, we leave you with clips of 2 of the stage shows of 2009 that a team of Jewish dramatists tipped among their favourites. You can read the full story in our newspaper this week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lexi Landsman, and this is Jewishnews TV.
And all that jazz, I'm gonna lose my knees and roll my stockings down. And all that jazz, stop the car, I know a whoopee spot where the gin is cold but the piano's hot. It's just
I wanted to give my son something substantial, something nourishing, something to make up for all the meals I'd failed to provide, and there was nothing in the cupboard. And so I went out, and it was raining. Pouring, still is, has been for days. The river is swollen and threatening to break its banks. 2 of the bridges have already been closed, and I didn't know if I'd make it to the shop or even what I'd buy if I got there, and it was too much. I just couldn't manage it. I couldn't look after him then, and I still can't. I just can't, and I screamed.